Hey, you there. Thank you for watching, and welcome to Forged Lines Forever. Today, I have a 3v3 ladder match here on the most amazing Neuroxys map generator. So let's go ahead and introduce our teams and our players, starting off with Team 1 in the north, ending with Team 2 in the south, also known as the blue team versus the red team. Starting off with the eastern player, working our way westward, we have in Amethyst Purple, Mui. He is an Aeon for this match. He is a 1963 rated, the highest rated player on Team 1, and almost the highest rated player overall, being beat by somebody else on Team 2 just by 2 points. To his west, we have in Royal Blue, Baller as a UEF. He is a 1589 rating. And all the way on his own little side of the map here, we have in Stitch Blue, Moistax. He is a Seraphim for this match, and he is a 1297. I'll be calling him Stax for short, and also do not confuse myself and hopefully anybody else from the Moi and Moistax. And for Team 1 side of the map overall, they have 1 Seraphim, 1 UEF, and 1 Aeon. They lack Cybran technology. Starting off with Team 2's Eastern player. Working our way westward, we have on his own little section of the map here in Ruby Red is Saizalan as a UEF. He is almost a 1500 rating at 1499. To his west in the middle for Team 2 is Chevy Crimson Toxic Hunter as a Seraphim. He is a 1503 rating. And last but not least, here on the western edge of the map here in Orange to Color Orange, already going for his naval facility, is Will-O-Wisp. He is a Cybran for this match, the one and only of the game, and he is a 1965 rated player, just beating out Team 1's highest rated player of Mui by 2 points in the rating, making him the highest rated player overall. So for Team 2's side of the map here, we have a Cybran, a UEF, and a Seraphim, which means the difference between Team 1 and Team 2 is Team 1 has an Aeon player, and Team 2 has a Cybran player, with Team 1 lacking Cybran, Team 2 lacking Aeon. And for 6 players on the map here, let's take a look at how much reclaim they have to scoop up. Currently sitting at only 1,200 mass, which is about 200 mass per player. Not really worth writing home about. There is nothing in the water, and there's also no mexes in the water as well, besides these 2 little islands on the eastern and western sides of the map. Besides that, there are mexes in the back for our players to grab, but that is it. This map is primarily going to be scaling eco as fast as possible because our players have limited options for expansion. And, of course, we already see that on the western side here, Stax moving in and grabbing this Trimex that should be under the control of Willow, but he's trying to be a little bit more aggressive in that realm. And, of course, the major feature of the map is this giant pond, which will force our players to go full Navy. And I'm assuming by the thumbnail, depending on what I pick for the thumbnail, you've seen that already. There's going to be lots and lots of Navy, and pretty much everything in the Navy can hit everything on the island, probably besides the southwestern and northeastern corner. Essentially, once you get the T2 realm, I'm assuming it's right about there, and then, of course, the battleships will hit everything else. We do see that Will-O-Wisp is going to engage Stax here on the western side. This base is going to fall apart, unfortunately for Stax. He tried to grab a nice little, land facility to pump out some Zooey to be very, very annoying against Willow, which is great because it does slow down his scaling of his ego. And he's targeting the highest rated player on the other team, just trying to slow him down. Great move there. Unfortunately, it does look like Mui Stax is going to be shoved off with the appearance of Toxic Hunter moving in to assist Will-O-Wisp in the evacuation order of this, well, player on Team 1. I was going to say opponent, but I'm not on Team 2, so it is, at least from the realm of Team 2, it is their opponent, but in my caster realm, it is just a player. Team 1 gunships online here for Willow. Nice little feature of this Cybrans, getting those out, being able to deal with all of those Zooey and shove off Stacks from this Trimex position. It does look like he's going to try to aggressively play another naval facility to pump out some frigates, but it looks like that will be denied, at least slowly but surely, by a couple of these jesters, which decide to just continue to fly northward. And there are some interceptors inbound, which will take those out very quickly. They are not known for their HPs, and so for that, they will be shot out of the sky. Of course, 2 comms over here to the western side to provide a nice little target for Team 1 to go after. But of course, with I mean, 2 of the 3 comms over here. There's going to be a lot of protection that will most likely be thrown at this. It's going to be a tough nut to crack on that western side. Team 2 on the eastern side is trying to stave off a dual attack inbound from Baller and Mui's commander. We do see that Saizawan is on the case, starting to push back Mui, who has 1,000 hit points on board that commander due to, of course, just the difference in UEF and Aeon Tech. But we do see that Baller might look like he's going to go for a reclaim play, but there is a Tiger Shark nearby that will start to poke at those hit points and kind of just either encourage Baller to go back onto land or go back home. And with that, that's pretty much the major engagements. We do see that T2 Navy is online for Mui, and he's pumping out those destroyers, I would presume. I don't think he'd start with cruisers, which, you know, cruisers is a nice choice too, especially if you're Seraphim and UEF, because you get those missiles. But I feel like in this case, definitely the destroyer is the optimum choice. We do see no efforts to go to T2 as of yet. Well, except for Willow, who's over here to the west. It looks like still both those comms are just going to sit there and hang out. Looks like the naval facility was destroyed for Stacks, so he's going to have to rebuild that. But in the east, starting to favor Team 1 ever so slightly with the T2 Navy headquarters online and pumped out its first destroyer. I would surmise that at some point Team 2 is going to recognize that on this eastern side. Yep, they already have, and they've gone for T2 Navy as we speak. And I have sped this game up a little bit just because, I mean, honestly, there's not really a whole lot going on. But as of Navy maps tend to go it's kind of slow first, 15 or so minutes. And then once like 20 or so minutes kick off, it's just constant back and forth. There's no stopping. And also because Navy is a little bit more slower of an engagement in the sense of there's units with so many hit points. It just takes forever to chew through them. Land engagements, it can last a little bit, but usually there's a couple of experimentals. There's a lot of T3, Perseus or bricks, or just kind of a lot of those higher tech units that really pump out a lot of damage, so you can whittle all of the hit points for the other team really quickly. But I mean, that can happen with Navy. You just need to have the right units. T2 Navy also online here for Baller in the middle. And of course, T2 Navy online for Willow and for Aizawan in the east. T2 not online as of yet here for Toxic. Looks like he's just pumping out some support frigates and subs for now. We do see that he's going for air, so he has T2 Air online. Is anybody going for T2 Air also online for, what is that? It's Mui over there to the east. No such facilities in one way or the other for the player of Stacks. But we do see that the Zui proving to be very, very annoying for these two players to deal with. One has veterancy, one does not, in terms of these two commanders. Stacks just feeding them veterancy at this point with all of those Zui inbound. We do see that a Torp bomber raid did occur. Looks like they were trying to go after maybe the destroyer, because I no longer see it. Oh no, it's right there. It did get some damage, but it's not dead. And that will give a little bit of time for Saizawan to get his own destroyer online here shortly, which he's currently producing. I would not be surprised to see him get another couple facilities here shortly. More bombers being built here by Toxic Hunter to probably go after either the cruiser or the destroyer. I would assume the cruiser first, clear the skies out, and then go in. We do see counter-torp bombers being built by Mui as well. So again, both of these players, at least one on each team, going for some sort of torp bomber nonsense. We do see that the torp bomber is not going after the T2 naval headquarters over here. That's trying to produce a T2 destroyer, which they are able to do. But one bombing run has been accomplished. Second bombing run has occurred, dropping the hit points on that naval headquarters quite quickly. There are some interceptors to protect this bombing raid. We do see they go after the destroyer, and Will-O-Wisp control Ks. What? Hold on. No, I don't see any conversation about that. Unfortunately, he does depart, which makes this game a 3v2. No kills as of yet, because I don't count those as kills. But it is unfortunate that Team 2 loses their highest rated player, not due to an actual kill, just because he had to depart the game. But to be fair, the headquarters to the west here has been taken out, so that's a little bit of reprieve for attacks for now. We do see a couple of Salems over here deployed by Toxic, which might try to escape to land, but I don't think it's going to be able to do it. The Salem cannot target 180 degrees behind it, so it is weak to essentially shots from behind. We do see that another destroyer inbound try to protect its buddy, but it was too late, and these bombers overhead dealing with that destroyer very, very quickly as well. You see a little bit of some posturing going down here for me as well, so just trying to secure the middle of the map. Again, as I mentioned, yeah, it's great that you secured the middle of the map, but there's no mexes there. There's nothing to grab. So it's kind of just dead space in that sense, or empty space, where it's not really useful to really go one way or the other. Is T3 air online? Not as of yet, but it has been started. We do see more. I'm assuming these are cruisers being produced by Baller, and I'm assuming naval facilities will be built at some point here by Maurice Stacks. But he's kind of just been locked out of the water game, the Navy game, for a while, because he just can't seem to keep a facility online to save his life. But his life is still a lot, and he still has his life, so that is better than nothing. Do you see that Toxic Hunter again, just constantly having to grab those mechs again? He's not going to grab them, surprisingly. He's just going to leave them there. Not even build T1s just to grab 6 mass a second. And in terms of the mass department, Team 2 is leading ever so slightly at 275 versus 250. So about 20 or so mass ahead than their opponents. But that's pretty much a T3 mechs. That's not too bad to be behind. But of course, on Team 2, we do see that Toxic Hunter has dual base, so his eco will scale quite quickly due to the plethora of options for upgrading T2, T3 mexes, that sort of thing. Ringing all of his T2 mexes, of course, and is doing that mostly as we speak. A couple of P-gens kind of blocking that. T3 air facility is almost online for Toxic. T3 air facility is almost online for Moi, and it looks like in more and more cruisers coming online. Now we see some bulwarks and some Valiant class destroyers online over here in the middle for Baller. So we might see an attack on this vector going after Toxic Hunter's dual T2 headquarters facility. Again, same kind of thing over here that Team 1 has done. We do see that there's a little bit of some pod shots being thrown at one another in the east, not really favoring one side or the other, just kind of, again, poking and prodding at one another. Lots of frigates online. Kind of interested to not see any bulwarks, considering that Team 1 has built their own, and of course Saison has access to them because he is UEF. In the west, again, it looks like he did go for those Mexics Toxic Hunter, and again, those Zui take out 2 of them. He cannot keep them online for long periods of time, and I love this. We do see a Seraphim destroyer coupled with some Cybran ones, so the lasers don't miss, of course, because they quote-unquote lock onto their targets, quote-unquote. We do see some reinforcements inbound from Baller, but unfortunately I don't think that Bulwark is going to save them. Those destroyers are going to be overwhelmed, and it does look like they're targeting the Cybrans first. I would probably go after the Seraphim one, or at least try to go after the cruisers. There's also some pseudo-navy in the mix as well. Unfortunately, the Wagners can't help out because they're underneath the surface, and the hover tech from the Yenzin can't be targeted by those Wagners, so essentially just a null and void engagement there. And of course, those 2 cruisers wiped off the face of the ocean there, and more bombers are inbound. And what's nice about that is now that the cruisers are gone, those bombers have a lot more room to work. Of course, there are some torp defenses on board these destroyers, but it does not save that one, and I don't think it'll save the Seraphim one. But a couple of them do get on the land, deploying my tactic of just being a little bit of a convertible unit, dropping the legs out and hoisting up the torpedo launcher. We do see those Wagners are moving in, but they can obviously be targeted by the torp bombers because they are in the water. And in the east, attacks on the naval facility have commenced. There's a lot of destroyers here, and now a T3 Neptune is online, the best naval vessel, in my opinion, in the game. They are very, very useful and put out a ton of damage. The only issue with them is their shorter range and about half the hit points of a battleship. So as much as I love them, you need essentially battleships to take the hit. and then you push in with the battle cruisers after that. And this is not going well for Team 2. That T3 unit, just that one alone, shifted the entire game, at least the eastern side, in Team 1's favor. I mean, there's probably going to be a mad dash for T3 Tech here shortly. And I haven't seen the T3 naval headquarters for the UEF for Saizon, very interestingly. And he hasn't gotten more AA, even though he knows that Mui is pumping out bombers. We do see a couple of Wagners do break through. They go after T2 P-Gen. They destroy that off, and they're going after some more T2 mechs, just trying to just snipe at Mui's heels there, just cut him at the knees. T3 mechs might go down here. It's going to be a little close. The bombers need to keep moving. The gunships deployed by Mui might be enough. There's also that cruiser off the shoreline that will secure that kill and drop Team 1's eco quite considerably. We do see that Team 1's overall mass income is at 200, while the southern team of Team 2 is at 350. The only issue with this, of course, is we won't really see the effects of this until a little bit later, because we see that Team 1 is winning the naval game both on the east and kind of on the west. It's not like a one-sided affair. It's mainly pseudo-navy in the form of these Yenzin, and it gives a little bit of time for Stacks to build up his T2 naval headquarters. But in the meantime, let's take a look at the game overall. We already went over the ecos. Team 1 hasn't lost anybody yet. Team 2 has lost Willow to possibly a disconnect. So it's not a kill, but it is still a 3v2 in favor of Team 1. Team 1 has map control, but I mean, like I said before, map control on this map is, I mean, you have your side of the map, or their side of the map, and their side of the map, and that's about it. Navy's, again, very back and forth. We do see a raiding party outbound from Stacks, but let me know down in the comments, at this moment in the game, 25 minutes, who do you think is going to currently win? Of course, if you haven't done so already, please give this video a like if you really did enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already, because why not? It's free, and lets YouTube also know that these videos are important to people, and that other people should see them and whatnot, and of course promote the channel even more, just due to the algorithm and all that YouTube stuff. But again, thank you so much for watching, and of course, let's go ahead and watch a couple of these Yens and get bombarded by some Salems. Try to dodge as much as they can with the Shala built. It's going to deal with a couple of those. These Yenjin breaking through, getting some revenge on Mui's mexes. We see multiple sets of mexes offline, and that eco completely collapses in terms of the lead, and now Team 1 is in the lead at 330 and climbing. I mean, there's been, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 mexes taken offline. Let's assume that all of those were just regular T2s, no ringed, no nothing. That's 60 mass a second that Toxic Hunter has lost, and then obviously, let's say half of those, so 5 had, you know, fully ringed mass storages. That's another 3, 15. Let's call that 75 mass a second. That was most of their lead, and then with probably some mex upgrades from somebody on Team 1 side of the map that completely catapults them in the lead for mass income. T3 Naval Headquarters is online for Toxic Hunter, going for the Seraphim battleships, and it's building that battleship very high up. I don't know if that's a visual thing. Is that a new thing? I feel like that's a new thing, because I don't remember it being that high. Huh. Anyway, we do see that the Salem's are going to be the main unit over here. I feel like this should be flipped, with Toxic Hunter going for T2 Seraphim tech for the destroyers, and then T3 tech for the Galaxy class battleships. I really like the Galaxy over the is it Hovatham? I think that's what this one is called. Because I don't see myself particularly building a nuke in my battleship. I'd rather just build a nuke in my sub, so they're 2 separate units. Because usually the battleships are on the front line and the sub nukes are not. But that's just, of course, my personal preference. We do see that the Wagners have now broken through and going after the T2 Naval Headquarters. Once again, Stacks cannot catch a break here, just constantly getting bombarded by Toxic Hunter. Of course, that force of Yenzin still alive and en route to this position. That's not going to feel well here for Toxic Hunter in a couple of seconds. We do see a couple of Governor-class cruisers online for Baller in the middle over here, going after the units, just holding position. Battle cruiser online as well. Second one online. We do see it's 1, 2, B2 so far. And this is where that Seraphim tech would be very nice over here, is that having those lasers that don't miss, air quotes, don't miss. They do miss just when they're changing targets. Would be very, very useful for Sizoan. And that eco is only is still favoring Team 1 at 460 versus almost 360. So Team 1 almost ahead in 100 mass per second. We do see a decent amount of Salems over here. And there are some vulnerable T2 and T3 mexes up here. One of them is not upgrading. I thought it was, but it is not. Looks like the Salems might be moving in to intercept. And there's a lot of PD that have been built on the shoreline, which some of them can be targeted by the laser weapons, which is one of the only downsides to laser weapons, is that they have to have a direct line of sight. There can be nothing in the way, no little tiny hill, no unit, no nothing. It has to be a straight shot to their target. That is the only one of the only downsides. Of course, we have some Wagners helping to push in and go after more mexes again, get some revenge. Looks like the Yenzin down here actually went for this position, essentially the exact same position that Toxic Hunter is currently going after. That's really going to hurt his eco as well. So both of these players, that being Baller and Toxic Hunter, and a little bit of Stacks, are suffering in the eco department. We can see Stacks at 37 mass a second, just really struggling to stay afloat in this game, literally and probably figuratively. Well, no, definitely figuratively, somewhat literally, because his comm doesn't float. And all of those mexes are taken offline. Of course, the Salems just moved into range just to do that. I mean, walked on the land, fired on all of them, and then came back. It's definitely the better bet. You need to get those units back and defend, because the last thing that Team 1 wants is for all of these forces in the east to just swing over here and go after the T3 and T2 naval headquarters. We do see that a couple of units have fallen back. There possibly was a naval fight that I missed. Oh, yeah, there was definitely a naval fight that I missed. A couple of battle cruisers in the water and lots of destroyers and cruisers. Looks like maybe those cruisers are fine, but the other ones for the Aeon Mui side of things are probably gone. Looks like some of those battle cruisers actually came over here to assist, and there's a lot of them online. Looks like Baller is pumping those out and then shifting them over. He's focusing on, I guess, getting his eco back up plus land, maybe? I don't really know what his focus is, because he's actually he's gifted over the facility to Mui, and he's just assisting with with engineers. So really, there's one main naval player, if I can speak correctly, for the eastern side of Team 1, and of course it's kind of a pseudo land and naval player over here to the west. A lot of course, the hover tech / Wagner's fights back and forth over here between Toxic and Mui. We do see that the battleship is now online, and these battle cruisers are forced to retreat. The longer range, of course, has them at a disadvantage. The Salems are going to continue to push in. It possibly could be an attempt to go after the main base for Baller. We'll just have to see. And we do see a little bit more of a pushing in from Sizoan on this eastern side. This might invoke a counterattack. We see a couple of Yenzin just straight down the middle here. Those mexes were all taken out, and even more of them taken out over here. That's, again, a lot of mass to lose. Team 1 barely still in the lead, but that lead has crumbled quite significantly. We do see that a couple of shots are making it into the main base. T3 mech's now gone. That T3 mech is going to be gone here pretty shortly. That T3 mech right there is going to be gone. There's lots of things going up in fiery explosions. We do see there's a target for the T2 land headquarters that's upgrading to T3. The Salems have now, at least what's left of them, have now breached the land and now moving in. And see, this is where having a laser weapon would suck because of that hill right there. And since these shots arc, their ability to get over that little hill is very, very beneficial. Looks like they are targeting the T3 mexes first, just trying to collapse Baller's eco. He's sitting at under essentially 70 mass, 60 mass a second. And another T3 mex goes offline. One more goes offline, and that's essentially just his commander and a couple of other mexes over here producing mass. The western side of things, Stack's not doing any better at 21 mass a second. And Team 2 now in the lead at 400, over 100 mass per second. The mass assassination game constantly going back and forth. But this is a scary amount of battle cruisers. that can rip apart a battleship very quickly, and it's already retreated. But that is very, very deadly. We do see that Baller going for some reclaim just to scoop up and rebuild his eco once again. Oh, he's going to get the T2P gen. No, he won't. Was that very necessary? Ooh, yeah. I mean, he's suffering in the energy department, but he is fixing things, so that is good. Tempest possibly started here for Mui. We're going to fight back with a even longer range battleship. We do see that there is a summit, and that's going to get wiped out. There it goes. It is gone. It looked like it shook for a second. But, of course, the battlecruiser will be forced back. Lots of battlecruisers here. Currently sitting at 6 of them. And I don't see any battleships as of yet. But it's just going to be battlecruisers. We do see production has been slowed because Baller's assisting has been paused just because he just doesn't have the mass. We're sitting at 200 mass a second versus Saison on a single base at 350. He's really scaled his eco. Of course, most of these mexes are T2 over here. All of these are tier 3. Oh, sorry, T3, not tier 3. We do see battleship now online. More and more destroyers as well. Looks like he's going to primarily go for the T3, a support, but mainly T2 unit approach, which usually happens until about, I mean, well, it depends on the match, but there comes a point where you just build battleships. That's all you do. You should build battleships. Again, I still think this should be T3 Galaxies and this should be T2 Seraphim Destroyers, but that's just me. Of course, you can't use the walking on land play with those Seraphim Destroyers, but they do have the ability to submerge and hide from most damage, and laser weapons don't miss. So these simulated shots, like that, those shots missed. That could have been a confirmed kill. All of these lasers don't miss unless they change targets. Very, very effective in dealing with T1, T2 units, and still T3 units as well for the battleships and the like. One of their weaknesses, of course, they don't really have a lot of. They have TMD and they have torque defense, but they don't have that much of it. Of course, in the realm where 1,000 of anything will kill anything, eventually you'll break through defenses. Doesn't matter if you have infinite shields or infinite SMDs. Eventually, 1,000 of anything will kill anything. And that is, of course, just being shown here by these battlecruisers. Just going to force their way forward. Another battleship, another battleship, another battleship. So there's 3 battleships over here. There is, of course, that T4 that was started, and now we see the Omen is almost done for Mui, and still battlecruisers here for him as well. And now the rain is starting to affect everything here for Mui. 2 of them go offline back to back. There's still 5 of them over here with some other destroyers. This one barely alive at 400 hit points. Another shots are inbound. Another destroyer goes offline. Looks like that battlecruiser is now sinking. That is another thing that takes forever in naval combat, is all of the units die very, very slowly. The unit, of course, has its death animation, and then it has its fall animation to the bottom of the ocean, water, pond, lake, whatever you want to call it. The only thing I don't like about this is that the battleships are in the front, and you can see just the DPS on these battlecruisers really just ripping apart that Hathum. Look at that thing, just eaten and alive. Battleship goes, oh, probably shouldn't push forward, and just gets eviscerated. There's another battlecruiser over there. And this one's almost gone. You gotta kill it, because if it's at 1 HP, it still does 100% of its damage. Another shot. Looks like it's going after the Omen. There's a couple of destroyers that got through. Those are gonna be wiped out. This one, and this one in low red territory, and somehow still alive. Somehow. I don't understand. Oh, that one just died. Okay, so there's that. But I'm still surprised they're not completely finished off. In the west, it's just pseudo-navy at this point. Just a bunch of Yenzine causing havoc. There are some Volthus sitting just above the surface of the water. There's another battleship, and Salem's online. There's a couple of flak cannons in the mix, which of course gunships are vulnerable to, but look at this. Look how fast they're ripping through all of those Yenzine. And once they're dealt with those, the AA is not going to be able to do anything anyways. This is starting to favor Team 2. I mean, lots of battleships. The Eco, of course, being the primary thing that's driving Team 2, being over 100 mass per second more than Team 1. And that lead has obviously changed constantly. Well, Team 2 was in the lead for a little bit, then Team 1 was in the lead, now Team 2 is back in the lead. I mean, we are sitting at 40 minutes on the clock. Is anybody thinking about like other things than just Navy and ending the game? 2 air grids online for Team 1, so possibly an air, bombardment, either from not cruisers, but from bombers, or for gunships, or just a bunch of ASFs. In the west, still trying to lick his wounds, build another facility. I mean, he has been beaten a lot in this game. Nuke loader, nuke what? What? Where? What? Oh, that's a thing. Besides, Owen's building a nuke. He also has an SMD, which is almost loaded. There's no SMD for Team 1, so that nuke, if it stays hidden for long enough, might win Team 2 the game. Unfortunately, they can see it. I mean, if they zoom out, which they're probably zooming out like this, they hovered over that, they would see the icon or the message in the little left hand corner. But they're probably not doing that. They're probably going to wait for a confirmation of either vision or just when the thing is completed. Now we have 3 Omens online versus 3 Summits and 2 Hathums that are moving into range. The battlecruisers are starting to be less and less impactful due to the fact that now we're getting into the slower part of naval combat, which is big, hulking mass of ships moving very slowly. You gotta target these battlecruisers first. They do so much DPS, but of course their hit points are not great. 25,000 versus 51,000. The Omens have 48, so they're roughly about 50% less hit points than the battleships, roughly. Just depends on which one you're comparing it to. But this summit has been beaten by these Omens. You can see now they're targeting that Omen in response. These Hathums need to push in and assist. They can't sit back here. They need to keep the pressure on Mui if they want to stave off this attack. In the west, I mean, there's really nothing happening. That Trimax position is just not really, nothing's happening. Same with this one. It's not really worth sending out engineers to try to grab that when you can instantly lose them. We do see some cruisers over here causing some havoc. The Volcano's doing very well at dealing with most of those missiles, but they, of course, can't deal with direct fire weaponry. Or, yeah, that's more direct. That's more indirect. That's definitely direct fire. We do see just the horde of units push in, try to just swarm these battleships. We do see that these summits still online, but now there's still 3 of them here for Team 1. There's only 1 for Team 2. There's 1 on the way. There's another one back here, but it's only going after engineers. Cruisers going offline. Frigates being ripped apart. We do see now these cruisers are targeting over here. There is some TMD on board these Omens, luckily for them. I think every battleship has TMD. Does this one have? Yep, it does. And there are T1 bombers inbound, not T2, not T3, not Solaces, not any of that. Just T1 standard Scorchers moving in to go after the summit. Gonna bake it in fire, light it on fire on the water, if you want to believe that. Of course, that does happen from time to time where fire does exist on top of water. But it's usually like oil or something burning on top of the water. So it's technically in the water, but technically not in the water because they don't mix. Because of the buoyancy and all that. Is it not buoyancy? Density. It's density. That's what I'm thinking of. It's the same reason why icebergs float and they don't sink, even though it's just H2O in a different form. See, of course, the Neptune now being bombarded by some Zui, going after these spam facilities on the front line. Toxic took a page out of his teammates or his opponent's book in the west here, and just throwing Zuis at his opponent, which again confuse some of the shots. I mean, if a couple of shots are directed to a Zui, that's a couple of shots that don't go to a battleship, battlecruiser, anything else important. It's essentially just cannon fodder is the idea. Of just, hey, why don't you be distracted by this other thing that's kind of annoying, that isn't really important, but you should be distracted by it anyways. And that battlecruiser trying to just do as much damage as he can, but you can see One more shot. There he goes. He's gone. Someone's pushing. Nothing still needs to move a little bit further in. It's sitting at 3 veterans. It really needs to just throw its weight around. Of course, scooping up the reclaim is very, very important here. Look at all this reclaim. We started with, of course, 1,200 mass on the field. Now it's 87,000, and that's not including all of the mass that has been scooped up by mostly Mui and Baller. Not a lot of mass over here for Stacks. 176,000 versus 72,000. Total mass accrued barely in favor of Team 1. Team 2. Team 1 only in the running just because of the 100,000 mass that they reclaimed in most likely naval units. And the Tempest is online. Second one about to be online here in about 6 or 7 minutes. And that thing is going to start now outranging the T3 battleship. So that will either force Team 2 to engage at point blank range or closer range, or fall back even further. That one just got sniped by that Tempest. And this map, of course, does look pretty big, but it is smaller than 20 by 20, probably about even a 15 by 15. So this Navy can easily be overwhelmed in one way or the other if there is a large shift in momentum. But for now, it's just kind of stalemate. You can kind of see units are pushing in. They're trying to go after that Tempest. They're trying to create some little bit of buffer between these units. But another battleship offline. It's not going well here. We see some port bombers also online going after the cruisers as they should, dealing with the AA support. And that cruiser is dead. There's no hopes of that coming back. We do see some bulwarks now coming online for Saison. Kind of surprised he didn't go for those sooner. Red spam air my Eco 500. You see the nuke is online and 3/4 the way loaded. Does Team 1 know about it? Yes, they do. Did Team 1 prepare adequate defense? Yes, they did. Is it loaded? It is not, and it is not. That one was just built moments ago. No SMD over here to the west. There is something to be said about maybe going after Stacks and just eliminating him entirely, but I feel like if Team 2 only had one nuke that they can use, it's either the Team 3 naval headquarters, maybe trying to clip a little bit of the air grid, or just eliminate this entire base for Baller. There's lots of Riptides being produced over there. There's, of course, the T3 naval headquarters here. You could actually possibly get both of them, which actually would be maybe even a better target. Yeah, Team 1 has a lot of air. You can lock that out with cruisers. If Team 1 can't produce any sort of Tempest or any sort of that thing, that's, I mean, I guess Tempest you can build without a headquarters, but at least not being able to produce Omens or battle cruisers or anything of that sort would be very beneficial. Another battleship online. Team 2 is starting to collapse on this eastern side. We see, of course, an outpouring of units from Toxic Hunter just to try to distract Team 1 in any sort of regard. T3 Seraphim Tech is online. He produced some of those Yasels, very effective T3 sub hunters. They output so many torpedoes. See another one off the assembly line. But looks like a lot of these shots just going wild. All of them need to focus on the headquarters, deal with that first, and then deal with everything else. Battleship going to help, and that thing is now gone. No more T3 units here for Stacks in the west. We do see, again, more torpedo bombers constantly coming in. That second Tempest is online. 2 Tempests online. And, of course, the shift in battleships definitely, of course, favoring the bigger giant disc that is the Tempest. There's not that many battleships online for Team 2, and it's looking like it is starting to collapse. The nuke is almost loaded, and I fear that maybe Saison will throw it at these 2 Tempests. It will alleviate some immediate pressure, but he could really go after a lot of damaging stuff. I mean, this SMD isn't loaded. This one isn't loaded as well. I mean, that could be very, very beneficial to go after those facilities. First Tempest now destroyed, sinking to the bottom of the ocean. And there it goes. We see some engineers constantly reclaiming. Look at all of the numbers. Of course, there are a decent amount of numbers over here. Looks like the main force has been repelled and now shifted to the east to go after all of this incoming threat. A couple of Omens off the shoreline, of course. They're going after the T3 naval headquarters. Will they be able to keep it online? If they get a bulwark online, that would be very beneficial, but I don't think they'll save it. Oh, a couple more shots. There it goes. A Summit was built, but it wasn't out of range. Again, it has a little bit AoE on it. There are Torrent bombers inbound from Toxic Hunter going after those Omens. It's not worth it to go after this one. That opponent is almost dead anyways. That's a lot of just thrown away damage at that point from all those bombers. ASF's moving in, but Team 1 has the air advantage. Now we see the swarm of units inbound from Toxic Hunter going after the second Tempest. And that thing is actually starting to be chewed up here. A lot of these units falling back, trying to hide behind all of these Riptides inbound. They're trying to, again, just protect themselves. The T3 headquarters probably going to be built very, very quickly here. Already up to T2 and about a third of the way up to T3. Nuke is loaded. He's got to fire that sooner rather than later because that SMD is going to load. That one's going to load. He's going to miss his window of opportunity. Of course, he doesn't want to waste it, but I know, or we know, obviously, everything that we wanted to know. Is the SMD loaded? Is the nuke loaded? How's everything look? That sort of thing. He doesn't know that, of course. This is what he can see. And, of course, he has ideas of where SMDs are and all that sort of thing, but fortunately, he's not able to confirm probably when they were built. You see some more bombers inbound from Baller moving in to just assist with dealing with the Salem spam that's being output here by Toxic Hunter. Still the battleships. Still think that should be reversed, but again, let me know down in the comments what you would do in this case. I mean, he's gone, of course, with the T3 Seraphim battleships and the T2 Salem cruisers. Would you go for the Galaxy class T3 battleship for the Cyberns and then the Seraphim destroyers? And I feel like that's the better, mix of tech and, weapon types and all that, but I could be wrong. And so please, if you have any ideas, let me know down in the comments. I really do appreciate it. Omen's starting to pick apart the defenses over here on the eastern side. Couple of T3AA and TMDs going offline. And that nuke, I mean, it's not firing. I mean, it's half loaded for another one. And SMD is just getting loaded ever so slightly. This one could have easily been launched. Maybe he wants to launch one after the other. The only downside with waiting that long is both of them are going to load. Strat bombers are inbound. ASF is going to intercept them very quickly. We can see Team 1 can see them. And it might be going after those. Nope, they're going to fall back. I think Saison can see the he can see the ASF, so he's not going to send them in. We do see those Riptides moving in, starting to swarm all of these battleships, not because they do a lot of damage, but because they just constantly distract. That Omen goes offline. Another Tempest on. Tons of Zui over there. Lots of AoE kills there for that Tempest. And that Tempest firing up once again. Shots are away. Interesting enough, it looks like it's a flat shot. It's not really like a ball. Kind of like a slice of energy instead of a ball of energy. Riptides probably going after the T3 Naval Headquarters once again. But there is more and more battleships coming off the line all the time. 52 minutes on the clock here. And Navy has now shifted from a primarily naval vessel combat to a spam Tempest, Omens, and a bunch of hover tech units, whether those are Ascendants or Riptides or Blazes or even some Yenzine over here. Multiple sets of bombers inbound. Another T3 Naval Headquarters has been built by Stacks. And he just can't keep one online for more than a couple of minutes. It must be very frustrating for him. He really wants to help out with Navy, especially with this attack that's going, at least in terms of the trajectory, is looking like favoring Team 1. That nuke still has not been fired. I feel like that's a huge waste of an opportunity. I mean, even if he went after this, it'd be huge. T3 Torrent class missile ships online for Mui, and that's going to put a hamper on a lot of things, especially if Team 2 doesn't have TMD. Look at all those yellow icons just traversing the map. So many missiles. They are, of course, very weak in terms of hit points. Only 7,500 versus, of course, 60,000 for a Tempest or 48,000 for a battleship, the Omens. Nuke is outbound finally. Where is it going? Not going for... Where is it? Yeah, where is it going? Oh, it's going over here, going after Mui. Stacks. I don't think that's worth it. Go after the bigger targets. Go after Mui. Go after Baller. Go after the T3 naval headquarters producing all these units. It will be a confirmed landing, and I think it was mainly just Saizon didn't know when the SMDs were built and doesn't want to fire it and not get anything out of it, which I entirely agree with that mindset, but sometimes you just got to risk it for the biscuit, and not really Mui's texting his help, please. Boom. Takes out 4 T3 mexes. That's, sorry, 5 T3 mexes. That is 25, 125 plus 10, so 135 mass per second. I just split 27 to 25 and then added 2 times 5, so 25 times 5 plus 2 times 5. 125 plus 10, so 135. If you're wondering how I did that math so quickly in my head. And it looks like the base here for Saizon is starting to collapse under the weight of all those missiles. He's going for a tactical missile. Will he go straight for Billy is the question. And he's currently building the missile. Looks like it's a struggle. The number is struggling. Looks like he's trying to. Looks like the system's trying to do both. And those missiles, they're going after the T3 naval headquarters once again. I mean, this thing has been battered down multiple times. TMD needs to be built immediately. Now, there is TMD on board some of these summits, but it's not enough. That headquarters is going to die here shortly. We do see the units inbound from Toxic Gunner getting into the main production facilities for Team 1, but multiple battleships offline, cruisers offline, everything offline. No impactful damage has occurred. There's a couple of Yenzin, but they're all wiped out. Definitely unfortunate. It was a nice attempt, but just could not kill anything off. We do see some Salems over here once again going after this facility, which is not probably feeling good here in a couple of seconds once some cascades for those mass FAPs do occur. Shield does pop online very at the nick of time, and possibly will save at least some of those mexes. More shields being built to protect. Pro, says Toxic Hunter. And Stacks rebuilding once again. He has not left the game. He has not shifted everything over to his teammate or anything. He is staying in it. So props to that tenacity for just not giving up. Sticking with it. Team 2, 860 mass per second. Team 1, 780. And looks like those Salems have now broke through the shielding. It looks like they're targeting those clink cameras, but they should be targeting those mass FAPs. Get a little bit of an AoE. Team 1 PD being spammed up, and that's going to help dealing with the rest of those destroyers in the east. Still, the swarm trick not really working in this instance because there's so much firepower raiding in. A couple of some torrents. Looks like they are going to go down, and Nuke is outbound. Where is it going? Don't tell me you're going after Stacks again. Where's it going? I mean, the SMD is loaded. This SMD is loaded. Just took a second. And if it goes, nope, it's going for Stacks again. It's going for Baller's facility over here. They couldn't get it on the destroyer side of things, so they'll go for the nuke side of things. That's going to be a huge cut for Baller's eco. He's actually producing more than Moi is. And that's another, what, 4 mexes. That's 108 plus 1 per 8, 16, 24. So about another 130 mass per second. Kaboom! That's gone. And what is the destruction? 73,000 mass killed with 2 nukes. It's average about 36,000 and a little bit. Definitely worth the price of the nuke. Definitely should have gone after the main base or 2. Would have at least gotten one of them. Had the first nuke gone for either one of them, it would have got it. The second one, doubtful, because the other one would have just mass loaded the other one, or just completely just thrown everything he had at it. Of course, we have some more bombers over top getting annihilated by a ton of flak and a ton of silent shields. They don't have shield boats, but they do have boat-like shields. And then, of course, it's going to help protect at least some of that Tempest's HP. But it looks like the collapse is starting to happen. So many battleships plus supporting other units, either T3 or otherwise. Western side over here looks like finally some naval vessels being produced and staying online. Specifically, of course, the headquarters. There's actually 2 of them. Stacks got completely probably annoyed that he kept losing 1. every time, so he just built 2 to have a backup. T3 Naval Headquarters is not looking well here, losing hit points pretty quickly due to all those torrents. We do see that the artillery is almost in the green here, and another nuke. Actually, that nuke was just fired. Never mind. Just thought it was loaded again. But it is not looking good here for Team 2. We do see that Saison has the Billy Nuke online, and it is not loaded as of yet, but it can be loaded here shortly. Another attack inbound from Toxic Hunter going after the headquarters once again. Now they have 2 of them to chew through now. I like how there's a T3 naval headquarters, T3 naval facility, but not a T3 naval headquarters. That's going to take a little bit to chew through those hit points on all of the structures. Main base here for Saison starting to get beaten down by those artillery shots from those battleships and, of course, the missiles as well. Doesn't look good here for Saison. There goes his T3 naval headquarters. There's no battleships anymore for him. It's mainly going to be driven by Toxic Hunter, but at this point, 59 minutes on the clock here. Team 2 has a nuke and an artillery almost. I don't even think that T3 artillery is going to save him. The shields are going to be built very quickly. Some of them already built. SMDs, of course, have been loaded already. So really, those nukes and those artillery have kind of just been nullified by Team 1. And at this point, I think I see the writing on the wall. We see 3 Tempests online, multiple battleships, a couple of cruisers with some shield builds protecting them. We see 1 battleship over here, units inbound, but again, it's only T2. There are a decent amount of destroyers, but not enough to deal with that magnitude. Billy Nuke outbound, going after the Tempests and the missile ship. Will claim the missile ship kill. And there it goes. It takes off about 1/3 or half of the remaining hit points on board that Tempest. But it's not going to go that well. He does get a rank in veterancy, and even 1,000 mans now for him. But look at all the spam coming from the north, the spam in the west starting to, again, just tax the supply lines and defenses on that western edge. Because everything's being sent over here. But this flotilla, this grouping of 3 battleships, experimental battleships, plus 2 missile ships, plus 2, 4, 6, 8 omens, that's more than enough to crack pretty much anything at this point. Do you see, is there a second artillery piece online somewhere that I didn't notice? No, it just looked like there was. Okay, it's targeting Baller's base. Looks like his SMD is offline. Ooh, that's not great. But of course, the Tempests are now in range of that artillery. One of them just killed off. You can see that's the range. They can target that nuke. And that's going to be a cascade. Shields are falling. Shots are inbound. Missiles are inbound. TMD going to be hastily built. And the nuke is targeted. This one being... oh, there it goes. Oh, I was going to say it's being reclaimed, but it's destroyed anyway. There goes the nuke. It's only a matter of time before those P-gens and shields go kaboom. And you see that Tempest being swarmed by Zooey. That Tempest is offline. So there's so much mass in this water over here. Got 6,000 here, 7,000, another 7,000. We have some Strop Bombers inbound. They'll crack the shields going after that artillery. Shields are gone. And those missiles are still inbound. We have some Yenzing on the shore now. T2PD probably going to be hastily built. Shields as well. Strap Bombers come back around for a second pass. Kill off the artillery. And that is the last of Team 2's long-range weaponry. 1 hour, 3 minutes on the clock here. I do not see Team 2 making it out alive unless they evacuate. See some destroyers trying to hide from most of the shells. Well, they look like it was. They are actually not. Looks like they submerged. But T2 Naval Headquarters is gone. Of course, the T3 one's still alive, trying to produce as many battleships as possible, but the damage is already done. Saison has not necessarily been knocked out, but he's been neutered for the time being. Those omens, they can target pretty much everything, especially if they get red about there, but they're just going to bombard everything and then go for it. Looks like Toxic Hunter Control K is gifting everything over to Saison. Saison sending his comm in. Where is he going? Does Team 1 see him? Team 1 does see him. They don't have any ASFs in the area, just a couple of strat bombers. There's some ASFs down there. Looks like, does Team 2 know where he is? He's probably, he sees the radar signature. He's probably going to go for a play. And don't know what that was about. Drops the comm. Comm lands. Strat bomber inbound. Strat bomber's inbound. Oh, there he goes. He probably wanted to give Mui a hug, but that is it, folks. 1 hour, 5 minutes, and almost 30 seconds on the clock, and Team 1 wins the game. They didn't have any casualties, and the MVP for this game, I think it goes to Baller. Well, Mui was the huge, he managed all of the, or most of the naval combat over here to the east. Baller's assistance of just saying, hey, I built this T3 naval headquarters. I'm going to gift over your units, and I'll just gift you over the facility, and I'll just assist with all of my engineers, and essentially you will be, just the sole Navy player. He came in with a lot of spam in the Riptide department to assist with the push. We, of course, I will give a shout-out to Mui Stacks, though. He didn't control K. He didn't leave. He didn't gift anything away. Didn't do anything. He got bombarded multiple times, constantly losing his headquarters, whether that be the Navy. I don't think he lost the land one, but at least lost the Navy one multiple times. He stuck in it. Really great job in that regard. He probably would have hoped to get a little more damage done, but at a minimum, he did distract at least Toxic Hunter for a while. That was great work from him, but I think the MVP goes to Baller for the huge assist that he was doing constantly for Mui, for, of course, getting those battle cruisers. Those were very crucial for getting the early to mid game in that naval combat, and then eventually, of course, he just kept, it was transferred over to Mui, and he just kept pumping him out. But let me know down in the comments if you agree with my pick for MVP. Of course, if you haven't done so already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so very much for watching to the very end. And if you did and you enjoyed the video, please like it. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, why not? You watched a possibly 1 hour or so roughly video. Why not subscribe? Hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully you enjoyed the next one to come. And I will see all of you in that next one.